So what we might do, in the absence of a Calvin, who, if anyone's not seen this before, how it goes here is that I am a, I was going to call myself like a sports nerd, but that would mean I was interested in sport or very nerdy about it. When in fact the opposite is true. You know, I'm kind of nerdy in as much as that stereotype of the nerdy kid who didn't like sport. That's me, who's grown into the nerdy man who doesn't really know. And it's not that I don't like it; it's just that I don't know anything about it. And having missed out on that, and you know, the all the stuff that would have made my father proud as a very passionate sports fan, I feel like I'm really behind. So thank God there are people like Calvin who seems to know everything about sport, and like yourself, who knows especially about the NHL, the National Hockey League in North America. And in the absence of a Calvin, I think we should go straight to that, if you don't mind, and give us that introduction to NHL, because I just thought it was like a parcel company or something like that. Oh, that's DHL.
No, the NHL is the premier ice hockey league in North America. I mean, there's other leagues, there's the minor leagues, and every country has its own league. But the NHL is the, you know, from back in the 30s and 40s, has been the Premier League. And it's the one which I followed from a very young age. You know, I was brought up in Canada and spent my youth there up until I was sort of 10 and was on skates from about 3 years old. And when was ice skating all the way through school years. My father would ship me off to the ice rink every Saturday morning to do the practices, and unfortunately he was a Maple Leafs fan, Toronto, so he always bought me, like a good father does, the Toronto kit. Yeah. But I was always a Habs fan, Montreal Canadiens. So yeah, got there in the end. And I went out to Canada a couple of years to go to do some work, so I managed to pick up a few bits and pieces to be able to wear in the UK, which is good.
And there's a picture of you as around 3 years of age with skates.
About 3, yeah.
Beautiful picture. And then we move on to you as an older young man.
Oh, yes.
Which one are you there? Which one are you?
Second from the left there, the one looking really unhappy in the Maple Leafs kit.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, was it an uncomfortable conversation when you came out as the fan of a different team? What was that like? What was the atmosphere like that day?
Well, it was just, yeah, well, I've always, you know, it's a big rivalry in Canada. When I flew out to Vancouver, you know, I got on the plane with my Habs t-shirt on, and the security guard came across to me and said, "You can't come on the plane." And there's me thinking about, you know, it's my passport or something like that. And she said, "No, we can't let you on. You're a Habs fan." So yeah, big rivalry.
That's how serious it is. And that's the shirt there, is it? Is that what's going on in the iconography there? You've got a C in it. Is that the Canadian Habs? Is that how that's working?
Yeah, well, no. It's a lot of people think it's the Habs. Habs comes from French Les Habitants, but it's the iconography on the T-shirt is Canadians hockey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And is that the T-shirt you gave you a barred entry to an airplane for?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Good morning from Veronica there, who I believe is a friend of yours, Wayne.
Oh yeah, she's family.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Not real family, but you know, she's been now one of our best friends for a very long time, since my Navy days. And you know, we think of Veronica and her husband Peter and their family as our family, and one of the main reasons we're coming out to Portugal, actually.
Amazing. All right, yeah, because friends and family don't always go together, do they? It's not necessarily interchangeable. So
there's lots of stories.
Yes, so you do carry on then. So there you are. We've seen you as a grumpy little guy in the wrong shirt. How did your career shape up after that?
Well, it's just school hockey and school teams that were playing all the time. And then obviously 10 years old, we moved back to England. My parents were both English, although my father served in the Canadian military, but that's a different story. We came back to England, and I had to be indoctrinated into football and cricket and rugby. And rugby was where I settled down. Certainly in the forces, that was what I played. But I never lost sight of the NHL, and I always kept in touch with school kids, school friends, and then when YouTube came along, that was a panacea for me. It was a way to catch up, and that's what I do today. Really, I catch up most weekdays on the NHL results. But it's been a weird year, as it has with any sport.
Yeah, of course. And I must say, I mean, as a kid, if you were into American sport, and this is what has always, I do chip in, Calvin, if we've got you back, if you've got any questions. But American sports seems so much more exciting. You know, we played our jingle there, which is almost like an American sports jingle, isn't it, with a guitar in it. Compare and contrast that to British sport. You know, you're sat on a deck chair with a handkerchief on your head watching cricket. There is no razzmatazz in that. There's a sandwich, if you're lucky, about 5 hours into it, and a cup of tea or something. But in America, it's like music, dancing, girls, hot dogs, beer, hats that you can eat and drink out of. It's like, wow, how did you get that contrast?
Oh, that was quite strange, actually, because the football scene back in the 70s when I came across wasn't in a great place. You know, all the fighting that was going along in the NHL. Although you watch the games on TV, what you don't get is all the crowd, the audience involvement. You know, they talk to the audience quite a lot. They focus on people in the audience. They choose people to ride on the Zamboni during the breaks that you don't see on television. You know, that's the little machine that clears the ice in between the breaks. So they'll pick someone from the audience, and there's real involvement with the crowd, and there was none of that in England. That was hard to get used to.
Absolutely. I was just thinking what the equivalent would be. What would you ride around on at halftime? On a cricket pitch, you might ride around on the roller, on the big heavy metal roller that flattens the wicket. But anyway, more about the NHL. Can you tell us about the specifics of the game? Because what it looks like is just like a load of blokes on ice skates punching each other, and the object of the game is to claim as many teeth as possible from the other side.
Yeah, there's a lot of that goes on. It's a hard game, but unlike the NFL, you know, which is a kind of stop-start game, ice hockey's always been really fluid, and although there's moments the same as any sport where the penalties and there has to be restarts, but it's a very fast-flowing game, and it takes a little while to get used to because it is so fast, and you have to train your eye as to what the players are actually doing, and that can be really hard when the puck's traveling at over 100 miles an hour, and sometimes the cameras can't even pick it up. So yeah, it gets a bit of taking used to, but basically it's two teams of 6 players, and they can interchange at any time. There's unlimited substitution, although there is times in the game where they're not allowed to do that, where there's a penalty called, and they have to start with the same players that were on the ice, so they can't change around then. Oh. Yeah, but it's very easy to understand. There's only one offside rule that you've got to understand. And how the penalties work out, and apart from that, you can just enjoy the game, the skill and the speed, and the goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And how long do they play for? How many are they? Sort of halves or quarters? What's the structure of it?
No, the game's an hour long, and it's split into 3 20-minute periods.
Okay, amazing. Calvin, have we got you? And have you got any questions at this stage? He's meditating.
He's frozen again.
Yeah, which is quite appropriate with ice hockey, obviously. There's a little tribute to the sport in question. So then the next question for me would be, how do we watch it? You've excited us about it for sure. I mean, Calvin was saying, wasn't he, before we came on air, that he started watching a bit online and it's hooked already. What's the easiest and best way to get access direct into the sort of best level of it, the most exciting level of it?
Well, again, I think this is where YouTube has come in. YouTube's an absolutely brilliant platform because you don't have to sit through the entire game. You can log onto the NHL site and subscribe to like an online pass that allows you to watch full games. But YouTube, for British fans is ideal because you can sit down and watch the highlights, and they'll come out, the same day as the game, and you can then focus on things like the top 10 goals, the top 10 saves, the top 10 bloopers. All those come out, and it's quite easy to follow, I think, with YouTube, just to get into the sport.
Fantastic. All right. Let's see if Calvin is. I'm sure he will have questions. That's if we can make the connection. How are you doing there, Calvin?
I'm getting every other word, I'm afraid. I don't know if I can give you some feedback, because I just can't get the same amount of information that you're getting, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, we basically got the structure. If you were going to test me, I would be saying there are 6 men each side, unlimited substitutions, unless under special conditions when you've got to get the original formation. There is an hour of play. How do timeouts and half times and rest occur in that structured way?
Well, in between each period, the three 20-minute periods, there's a break and changeover of ends, and obviously all the penalties. Icing is another one where they could just send the puck down the ice without it touching another player to get it away from their goal area. That happens a lot. That will stop, and then there's 6 dots on the ice, and there's restarts from those dots, and that's it. Basically, they'll choose which is the correct dot for the correct penalty, and then the restarts for the periods are in the center, and then the referee will drop the puck at one of those dots and restarts the game.
Amazing. Okay, and a question from Veronica. Ask him if he had to choose between rugby or ice hockey. This has got to be
no, Veronica. She's terrible.
She is, isn't she? I've noticed this actually on the mornings. She does like to wind you up a little bit, but I guess that's the whole thing about friends and family, isn't it? Come on, you've got to do it. She's asking you the question. What's it to be? If you had desert island, obviously you can't play. That would be decided for you. You can't play ice hockey on a desert island. But which of those two do you choose?
Oh gosh, it's really hard. My heart's with ice hockey, but I played rugby more.
Yeah.
So I suppose my heart is with rugby, but hockey is what I grew up with, and I follow on a intermittent basis. There was a large gap, obviously, where I couldn't follow it as much as I wanted to. So my full time went into developing rugby back then.
All right. Well, we'll come back to you on which rugby team, which cricket team, which football team you were chosen or you chose in your exile in the UK. But whilst Calvin is getting a better signal, which I think he's doing there, which is a nice little bit of entertainment in its own right, if you're watching in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen as I am, let's talk to the birthday boy, Owen, who is in Villa de Rey in Portugal. How are you, mate? Are you well?
I'm very, very well.
Oh, look at this.
I'm very, very well. I'm absolutely over the moon over my team beating the new Premier League champions, thumping 4-0. It was supposed to be 5-0, but we always know Liverpool always get away with VAR, so it should have been 5-0. But there you go. What a birthday present.
Oh, did you mention which team you support?
Did I say it?
What's going on in your house then? You are cooking for your birthday celebrations today, I believe. I saw some of the food you were preparing.
I'm 53 today. I've been up since 4 o'clock. I have done a pulled beef, a pulled pork, feta and spinach parcels. I've done a salad, loads of other things this morning. Yeah, so I've stopped now, and I thought I've got time to spare before midday, and I knew you were on. I didn't want to miss the second show, guys, so I thought I'd pop in and say good morning.
Brilliant. And did you like our new jingle?
I didn't hear it. I wasn't there for the beginning.
Right. We'll do it now. Go crazy!
The Good Morning Portugal Expat Sport Report.
Woo!
Oh, yes. Love it. Absolutely.
gets testosterone flowing, doesn't it? Quite like that. You've been up since 4, pulling your beef and pulling your pork by the sound of it. You must be exhausted.
Steady up there, steady.